All right, so good evening once again. So to start with is to initialize that very database scripts that I sent to you, which comes with all the tables we will be using for this advanced SQL data analysis. So let's quickly take care of that. So I will allow you to share your screen because I've already activated that on mine. I wouldn't want to duplicate it. So let me allow you to share your screen. So I will use your screen to guide you how to go about the scripts. Please kindly share your screen. All right. So, when we are learning the basic aspects of SQL, part of the steps that we follow, where we started by creating a database, and then we now imported our data table inside the database. But the scripts that I've sent to you has the database and all the tables in it. So what we are going to do here is to execute that scripts, is to execute it. So since you have already known where you kept it, so I will just guide us through. Please, I want you to collapse all the database here so that I'll know exactly where we are. Can you help me to collapse all the database? I hope you know how to do that. Just close all these, open a new query tab. No, the next one is the one you have to click. Yes. All right, so now you can decide if you have some work you are still doing under this query tab. So just go to File. Let's get a new query tab. Go to File and select New Query tab. All right, so let's execute. So I want you to double click on that scripts. Double click on the scripts. Okay, the script has already opened here, right?
Yes.
Okay, since it has already opened here, so what we are going to do, but before that, before the execution, let's look at the schema, the structure of the script. You can see drop schema if exists. If you remember when we were loading in table, there was this option where you asked the other time, where they give us an option if there is any existing table that correspond with the one we are trying to load in, it should be deleted. So all those scripts has been written. So we are not going to go through all that. So if you scroll down, I want to scroll down so that let's look at the table. You can see from the basic syntax on how to create table that I started with. I believe looking at this script now, you can know what that next line is saying. That says create table, call what? Student ID, student name. Remember we did something like this, and then I told you that it is not actually the responsibility of a data analyst to prepare this kind of query statements, because we are supposed to be given a collected data. Our role is to work on the data. So, but at least with that brief lecture that I give to you, then you should be able to understand why we are having the structure. So, which means that your table, your record, keep scrolling down. Scroll down. Let's see some other thing. So you can see where we are inserting data. So all these ones has a record already inserted or computed in the table. All right. So the top section talks about the database itself. The next section talks about the table, and then the next section is talking about inserting records inside the table. So which means that this particular script that you have now contain the database, contain the table, and the record. So all we need to do is to execute it so that we can have the database listed by our left-hand side, just like the way we have those other schema like the Coffee, Digitech, Lagos, and the rest of them. So let's quickly look at how do we execute this script. In other words, how do we initialize it? How do we commit it to this particular tab or query environment? So what we are going to do is I want you to click on Query tab. There is a tab called Query. Just click on it. Click on Query tab. All right, just select it. Then click on Execute All or Selection. Let's assume that you selected them. Let's say by pressing Ctrl A. You can as well, maybe there is a section that you selected. Just click on it and see all the code will start execution gradually. So you can see all the script has been initialized. So I want you to refresh. Once you refresh, you are going to see the name of the database by your left-hand side as well. So refresh, let's see. Perfect. So that is what? Marvel Advanced what? Underscore SQL. So now I want you to close this tab and open a new tab. So let's quickly use the database. That same process. No, just open a new tab. At the tab, not too much. If I were to be you, I close some, but just continue. Just continue. I believe you still have something important to do there. So if there are anyone that are not important, you can clear them so that you won't have too many tabs opened. Okay, so okay, you want to close it. Are you working here? Okay. Just add a new tab. Just add a new tab. You can even close this one since you have executed the code. You can close it. So now let's use that database. As usual, write your use code. Use the database. Once I confirm this, I'll switch to my screen and then continue the next process from my screen. Use database. What is the name? All right, so run the code, let's confirm. All right, so perfect, So you have, so whatever I'll be doing now will be on the same page, so you cannot share your screen. Let me continue from my end. Hope you understand that step. Sometimes a company will send you the script like that constitute all the data table you are to analyze. So I believe you noted that those steps on how we executed it. Just go to query and then you click on what? Execute all. So let me create a new tab and then create a new tab. So the first thing I want to do here is to what we are going to do in the whole of this section is to look at some of the intermediate SQL keywords that are very much used in data analysis. At the same time, this will serve as revision. Now, you are expected to master what we call the big six. The big six. In other words, the big six is referring to six SQL command that you must understand before you can talk about the advanced, where we shall be looking at the join, the left join, the right join, and the rest of them, which will be in the next class. So what I want to do in this session is to run through these big C's and some of the basic things or intermediate that are required of us to understand before we can actually understand that last advanced aspect. So let me use comments. So I want to target the big 6. So like I said, the big 6 is just like an acronym to represent 6 SQL keywords that you must understand before attempting the advanced aspect of SQL. All right, so which means that if you don't understand these 6 keywords, there shouldn't be any reason why you should start learning the advanced. If not, the advanced will be difficult for you. So the first thing is to use the database. So I will say use Marvel _ advanced _ SQL. So we are in that. Now remember, I want to know the tables in this particular database, just like we learned the other time. So I will say show. I want to know the number of table. I want to view the tables in this particular database so that when we start working with them, you will know where we are calling the table from. So show tables. Show table. Right? So you can see that we have a lot of tables under this database. We have country, states or statistics. We have customers. We have happiness scores. We have happiness score _ current. We have inflation rate. We have order. We have product. We have student grade. We have student. So these are different tables in this particular database. So let's start looking at the big 6. But before that, there are some keywords that, though I will just paraphrase because the knowledge of the basic we have learned is expected to have settled that. But what I'm going to do is to try as much as possible to see how we can run through them. The big 6. The first one is select. Select. So for example, if you write select grade _ level. So that is one of the header in one of those tables that we just view now, and I put a comma, right? So if I select this, or let's say this from, as usual, from which of the table are we referring to? Let's say students. We just discovered that there's a student table there. So if I run this, that is going to call out only the grades in the student table. Now, in the student table, if I want to view everything I have under the student table, so let's view everything we have there so that we can understand the headers or the features. So let's say select all from student table, so that you know where I got that grade _ level. So let's study this because most of our work at the moment, as we explain the big 6 SQL key or intermediate or basic keywords or command, we are going to be working with this data. We have ID, we have student name, we have grade _ level, we have GPA, we have school lunch, we have birthday, we have email. All right, so let's assume that we want to remember we talked about SQL aggregates function where we did average, where we did sum, where we did counts. So like I said, this section, the beginning part of it is more or less of the revision of what we have done before I get to the main aspects. So let's just play around some of these things. So let's assume that we want to select the unique student grade level. Because if you look at this header now, we have different unique grade level. We want to know them. We have grade 10, we have grade 11, and then you can see 10 is repeated. So if I want to write an SQL query statement that helps me to display only the unique grade in this student table. So let me use comment display or select students distinct grade level. So the syntax is going to be select. So the keyword here is distinct. The keyword here is distinct. Distinct, you reference the header or the attributes you want to display its distinct value. So let's say grade level, right? Then just to make my code look more organized, I can go to the next line and reference the table I'm selecting this value from, which is the student table. Then I can end. So if I run it, you can see that we have just 1, 2, 3, 4 unique or distinct words grade. I hope you are following, sir. I hope you are getting it, sir.
Yes, yes, yes.
All right. So now another common SQL keywords we need to understand before we go to the advanced is if I want to count those distincts. You see it now? It's not just the counting that we did the other time. We are counting those distincts. So in other words, get the distinct and count how many of them. So let's say I don't want to manually count here 1, 2, 3, 4. Or let's say you have not run this code and you want to count how many distinct grades are in the grade student level or in the student table. So let's say count the total unique grade level. So the syntax is going to be select, then distinct. Sorry, in this case, you are going to go with count, and then it's a bracket. So inside it, you wrap the distinct, and then you specify the header you want to count its distinct value, and then level, right? Then you have to close the bracket. Sorry. Now, once you have closed the bracket, then just to format my code, I'll go to the next line. Remember, you can as well write everything on the same line. So from which table do you want to select account distinct value? Let's say this. So if I run it, so it counted what? 4. So what I want you to pay attention is the syntax, because I discovered that we did not twist them like this when we treated them. So because our objective was actually different. That is why I'm trying to reconnect you with some of these things, because you need to understand all this before we go. Now, we also did maximum. So I can, perform 2 aggregate analysis at the same time. I can do for maximum and minimum. But what we did under basic was just taking them individually. So let's assume that the task here is, remember when we selected the student data, we discovered that we have, so we discovered that we have the GPA. So let's say I want to analyze the maximum GPA and the minimum GPA. So that is the task. We want to perform the two aggregate analysis at the same time. So let's say what? Analyze the mass and mean of GPA or student GPA. Student GPA. So what would be the center? The centers is select, all right, select, then I'll call the mass function and then supply the header, remember, which is a GPA, and then close it. So the next one, we want to subtract it. Say mean, open the brackets, GPA, and then close it. Then we want to redefine the outcome as GPA. I believe you know this. That is the range. What we are actually calculating now is what? The range. So we can change our analysis description from analyze the mass. That's what? Analyze the range. Analyze the range. Range between, how do I put it? Let me say. Analyze the range. The range. Okay, so let me say. Analyze mass minus mean GPA, which is now translating to range. So we want to redescribe the outcome as GPA underscore range because you subtracted the minimum from the maximum in statistics. That will give us what? Range. So now just to make my code look more presentable, so reference the table. So you can see, so this is the what? The range. So I want to give you, let's say 3 minutes to try some of this. I don't know if you have written them. If you have not, so I can still leave mine on the screen for you. Just play around them briefly before we continue so that doesn't get too much. So I should leave everything on the screen, right?
Sir?
Should I leave my script on the screen? I want you to try some of this with the data you have there also. You have the same data. So just perform some of the analysis that I've done for the next, let's say 5 minutes. And then once you are done, you let me know so that you can share your screen.
Okay, okay.
All right. Okay, so we still have some common SQL keywords to look at. Let's look at bringing the where clause and the and keyword here. So let's say we want to select, let's look at the data first so that we know what exactly we want to achieve with this. So if you look at this, under school lunch, we have students who have yes, we have students who have no. And then under the grade level, we have students who are grade level are less than 12. We have, I think, equals to 12. We don't have anyone greater than 12. So let's assume that we are asked to analyze let's say, analyze students whose grade level is less than 12 and school lunch is yes. I hope you were with me before. So let's assume this is the task. This is a task we are asked to perform. So the syntax, so I just want us to understand some of the keywords before the common keywords.
Sorry. Can you repeat the task because
Okay.
your voice was dragging. I
Okay.
wasn't hearing you well.
So the task is we are looking at this students table and we are asked to select or analyze a student whose grade level is less than 12 and the school lunch is yes. So these are the set of students we want to filter out from this table. So, and the syntax is select, and then just to organize my code better, select all, which you have already know that the asterisk means what? Select all from the student table, and then just to highlight the keywords in a different line, we have select, then we have from, and then we are bringing a clause here because there is a condition for the selection. And the where, the clause is where grade level is less than 12, and that is another keyword, and school underscore lunch is equals to yes. Right? So with this, we should be able to output those sets of students. So how do I know if my filtering is correct? So if you check the grade, you see that all the grade you have here, they are less than 12. And if you check where you specify the second criteria with the and keyword, is we have only what? Yes. So I can change it to no. I hope that is clear, sir. So depending on the data you are given to analyze, so you are expected to know what's the keyword that you need to put together to be able to answer any expected question. So we are just playing with this data, and I hope you are following. Did you understand this particular line? So we use two criteria to fetch the data. We use two criteria. The first criteria was students whose grade level is less than 12. The second criteria is what? Where the lunch is what? Equals to yes. So now there is another keyword I want to bring in, which is called in. All these are keywords in SQL that I want us to understand. We have in. So how do I use the in here? Now, we just fetch out student grade, right? And from what we have here, we have 4 different grade level. We have grade 10, we have grade 11, we have grade 9, we have grade 12. So let's assume that I want to select only students with some specified grade. Let me put it in comment. So here, select only, or select students record in. That is the keyword in. We want the one in 10. That is what in grade 10. We want the one in grade 11. It can just be only one as well. But let's select 3 grade in what? 12, which means that what students with grade 9 or students in any grade that is not among these specified or selected grade will not be displayed. That is the in keyword. So how do we write that? So select all record. Let me break it here. From students table, then where, that is the clause, where grade underscore level. All right, so the keyword is it in. That is the keyword. All this is for you to know that they exist. Then you put them in bracket. So I want student in grade 10. So let's say this is the only one I want. I will just close it. So if I run it now, I want you to check. You can see that what? You have only student in grade 10 record outputted. So if I want to say, okay, I want to select 2 different grades, let's say grade 10 and grade 12. And then I will add it by just adding a comma and then run the code again. You see that now you have grade 10. And so I can add another grade. Let's say what? Grade what? 11. So I've been able to select 3 different grades. So if you are given a different data sets after this class, now it's now less for you to know the kind of analysis question you can answer with all these common SQL keywords. So all these ones actually falls. So we're actually blending the basic and some intermediates. So that is what I'm trying to sort out in this session first, so that when we get to the advanced, we will have been rooted a little bit to understand the complexity of the advanced aspect. I hope that is clear, sir. Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
So we still have another thing we want to look at. Now, if you look at this data table now, let's say we want to select students. We want to select students where their email end with .com. Email where students email where you have .com. So the keyword here is like. So that is another keyword. So let's see how we are going to use this like. So like I said, we want to select students with email with .com. So I can just say select just okay. Yeah, I did not close it. I discovered that select all record from student table, where email, because we have email as one of the header, where email is like, so that's the keyword now. Where email is like, you open a string, then that string, you put this to accompany the value you want to select is a constant. And then you want the one with .com. So let's assume that in this data set, you have other email that end with maybe .org or maybe something else. So those ones will not be selected. That is what we are illustrating with the like. So what we need to pay attention to is the keyword that I am bringing in. All right. So if I run this particular script now, it will output all the email that end with .com. So at even we have another, let me try and change it to another term. Let's say .ever. So that doesn't correspond. So you have to work with the last So we have all the email ending with what? .com. So but what we have been able to explain here is the like what? Keyword, the like keyword. Right? So now that is understood, let's look at another common. Though we have used it, I don't think, but let me just recap it because I just want to make sure that. So this is like an assumption that you have not taken that first class. I want to make sure that we get everything properly. And in between, you can see that I've chipped in some additional keywords that we had not considered in that basic class. So let's assume that here we want to select some specific headers record from the entire data and also sort them in descending or in ascending order. You know, there's a keyword we want to use here, which is the descending and the ascending. So we want to select just from the whole of this data table, we want to select a student name, we want to select their GPA, and we want to sort them in descending order. So let's say that is what we want here. So let me use a comment here and say select student name and GPA, comma, then sort them in descending order. Descending order. So how do we achieve that? Select need to end this line. Thing that is select student. Remember, we've done something like this. So those two headers that we want to capture from the whole of that data, we quickly mention the name, and then we separate them with a comma, call the other one you want to pull out with a GPA, and then I can go to the next line, or I better write everything on the same line. So from the table, which is students, and then order by GPA. So the order is going to be according to what? To the values here. So GPA. And then remember, if I end it like this, it will arrange everything in what? Ascending, where it's not mentioned. So by default, it will arrange everything in what? Ascending. But if you mention before the column, you put descend like this, which is descending, that will give you descending order, right? So you can as well decide to say you want to put ascend, but you should just know that even if you don't specify it, it will, by default, it will sort ascending. But even if you put it, there is no alarm. I hope that is understood, sir. You know, we've done something like this before, but I just want to capture it properly. Is that clear, sir?
It's clear, sir.
So another one, so we want to select limited record. We want to select limited record. So let's say selecting limited record from a data table. So for example, from the student table, we want to select only the what? The first 10 or the first 20 or the first 30. So how do we write an SQL query statement to handle that? So we simply say select all record from which table? Student table. And then of course, we did something like that. You put what? Limit, you just space. If you want the first 10, you put the 10 and then you end it. And then if I run it, so you can see that what from the whole of this record, you have selected only the first word 10. I know we did something like this. So now we want to start going a little bit advanced, but it's still intermediate. So here I want to bring in what? A keyword called case, keyword when, and S. You know, we have been using where. So here we want to use keyword when, we want to use keyword S, and what we want to do, we want to use them to assign certain what variable to certain value in our data. So let me just use comment here. So the keyword we are focusing on here is what? Using case when to assign, let's say, values. So what is the question here? So we are still on the students. So if you look at the students, let me display only the students, the entire record back, so that will tell us what exactly we want to achieve here. So from this data set, we want to assign the grade. So if a student grade is 9, we want to probably give it a different what tag. Let's say it could be any name, let's say freshman. If the student grade is equals to 10, we want to give it another name. Or if student grade is 11, we want to give it another assignment. So in your data set, it could be column of your profits. It could be any other column where you are like reassigning some value, that if a customer purchased a product equals to this, this is how you want to label that kind of customer. And a different column will be created that will output those new what? Generated label. So that is when you use the case and the when. All right. So let me write it. The best way you understand it is when we have written and executed the code. So let's say select. So I want to focus on student name and the grade level. At least I'm not interested in picking the entire data. So I'm working with the student name and the grade, and then an additional column will be created, which will be called what? Student class. So I'm reclassing the students. All right. So since I'm interested in, looking into just those two headers, the student name and the student's grade level. So using the same logic, I will say student underscore name, comma, then grade underscore level, then command, then you go down. So you can use your indent to create, depending on, you can work with the same indent, or you can decide to have a better format. So we're bringing in the case. So the case, we create a kind of block of code there. So I will say case when grade level, case when grade level is equals to 9, then is another keyword. Then what class should that belong to? Let's say that should belong to, let's say, let me just use some random name that's, all right. Then you don't need to put a comma. You go to the next line. You can see is indenting. So you can use your tab to make sure that all the when are on the same level. So when, to take another class now, when the same grade level, when the same grade level is equals to, let's say, 10, what class should they be? Then I want to assign let's just say, so you can choose your words. So I just want to use this. Can be any word whatever you want to use to class them. Then when, take another one, when the same grade underscore level is equals to 11. So I just want to work with 3 different grades. Then this one I can say junior. Right? So when you are through, this one, that is what any other grid that is not among this specified, they are the one you want to reference as what? S. They should be given what? Senior. So you just put there any grade that does not have it assignment, then definitely that belongs to the senior. So that is what you are indirectly saying here. Now you have to end the case. You put what? End. Now, what will be the title of this new header that will be created? So we are going to have 3 headers. You know, we have already selected what? Student name plus what? Grade level. So, and this new assignment will now be another column. So what will that column be titled? That column should be titled and as, let's say, student underscore class. You can give your own any name. And then you have to reference. So you bring your code back, your index back to this. Hope you are getting the block. Then you will not say from, because you must reference a table where all these values are to be called from. Then from student table, then before you end the code officially. So if I run the code now, look at what I get. So you can see that what I selected student name, the grade level, and then I created another class, which is this. I hope that is clear, sir. So depending on the data you are working with, so depending on the data, you can re-engineer, depending on the question, or what exactly you want to analyze. Any question, I hope is clear. Please let me know if it's not clear. Is it clear, sir?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay. So what you do is that you try and lay your hand on another data set and see how you can work around some of these things. So now, let me see if I just want to take care of this intermediates. So I think I've touched all the intermediates. So at the next class, if we can practice and master all this, it means that we are good to go with the advanced. So what are the keywords that we have summarized so far? I hope you remember them, all the one we introduced. You know, before now we are using just where. Now you have seen the case where we used when. You have seen the case where we use then. We have seen the case where we use case. You see this case where we use in. So if there's no question, I think we will stop here. So it means that the next section, we will assume that we have mastered the basic, the intermediate, and then we should be ready to look at the advanced, where we'll be discussing the join types. Any questions, sir?
No question for now. Just leave this your screen just a minute.
Okay.
Let me.
Okay.
Mm.
I've covered. try and lay around on different data sets, play around them, and then we look at working with multiple table. That is where we are going to look at the join, the union, and other advanced keywords. All right, good night, sir. See you in the next class.